So I asked ChatGPT for an idea for a house in The Sims 4, and this is what I got. It told me to make a cozy artisan retreat, a multi-level home that blends seamlessly with nature, designed for a sim who is artisan or craftsman. It's a home where creativity meets cozy living, filled with handmade aesthetics and surrounded by a lush seasonal garden that changes with the in-game weather. It made sure to say that the house needs to have an open concept kitchen and living area, and an artist's loft. It also said the house needs to blend in rustic elements with modern touches, and finally, it has to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. With all this information, I was ready to start. When I started building, I honestly had absolutely no idea how to begin. I had an idea of how the artist's loft was going to look, but that's about it. So I was really unsure of how things would turn out. Something you may notice about me is that I do end up jumping back and forth between different parts of the house to change things that come to mind. Like here whenever I start working on the backyard and then back to finishing the shell. Once that was done, I moved on to the roof. That was a little annoying to do at first, but all it took was a bit of tinkering with the shell to make it work much smoother. Actually, the roof did give me a bit more trouble down the line, but you'll see whenever we get there. You know, the roof actually turned out pretty alright, considering normally I can't do roofs. I absolutely suck at them. Like, I have this vision in my head of how the roof should look, but whenever it comes to actually making it, the pieces just don't fit the way I want them to. So here I'm just adding wallpaper, and I think I made the right choice. I think it blends rustic and modern elements together just like ChatGPT asked me to, but I don't know, I'm not an expert on these things. If you're wondering about the random bits of furniture on the first floor, it's just so I have a mental note of what parts of the floor plan are what, considering it's an open floor plan. You know, something I like to do when I'm building a house is that I'll start working on the exterior and adding random things like the trees. I think it just helps me figure out how the build will look with its surroundings. Also, can we just acknowledge for a moment how few foundation trims there are? Like, I don't know what to pick because none of them were exactly what I was looking for. It's one of the things the other Sims games did so much better because there you just use wallpapers. Okay, back on track. Here you see me struggling with the roof again. I wanted to have the art studio overlooking the living room, but any time that I tried to get rid of that part of the floor, it just covered the room with the roof. After struggling for a while, I just decided it was easier to remake that part of the roof. It left an ugly part where the roof doesn't connect, but you know what, I don't care. I was not about to spend an hour adjusting one part of the roof. It's barely noticeable anyway. I was scared though. I thought the game was not going to let me have this, and I was thinking I would have to come up with a new idea. It's a good thing I found a way. After that mess, I started adding more windows around the build. I especially liked the window I settled with for the art studio. It fits right in while also standing out, and it lets in lots of natural light, which is something that ChatGPT said is a must. That's not to say I think the other windows look bad, of course, they don't. Actually, this might be one of the better examples in my builds. It's just that normally the windows in my builds look kind of strange, especially from the sides. I just realized that I'm talking about my builds like you've seen them before, but you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe I should show off some of my older builds in a video or something. Back to it, I'm just finishing up the floor plan and adding a trim to the roof. Simple stuff, but it can really help make a difference in your builds. You're gonna notice I tried to put some columns around the building. The thing is, I don't have the get together pack, so I don't have the one that works whenever you use it in the corner of your builds. I might decide to get that pack, but I also don't feel like throwing money at EA for one object, even though I did exactly that with Get to Work in my previous video, but we're not gonna talk about that. Anyway, after throwing in some flooring, I began work on the kitchen. The kitchen was actually pretty easy to deal with, and it looks good. I did have to change the window, but that just made it look even better, so no complaints there. Other than that, it's a pretty standard kitchen if you ask me. It has all the basic appliances and decor to make it feel like a real kitchen that people use. I think the only thing different that I did that I've never seen anyone else do is put a towel next to the sink and shrink it down to resemble a pile of rags. Maybe I'm weird though, and that's not a thing most people have in real life. I don't care though, it's my build. I do like the choice I made to have a counter island though. It helps things look less empty, and also marks the perfect spot to put in a kitchen light. For the interior wallpaper, I went with a simple gray. It's something you can't go wrong with, especially in a house like this. Though that tile from Parenthood worked perfectly as the kitchen wallpaper. I did spend a bit of time figuring out where the stove was going to be, and I experimented with a couple possibilities before finally settling with next to the window, so I can still include the kitchen hood. Once that was figured out, I had a good time decorating the kitchen. I didn't want to include too much clutter though. I still wanted the build to be usable, you know. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, to be honest. Like, I appreciate it and it can look very good, but what's the point if your Sims can't even navigate the house properly because of it? Then again, I'm just some random guy on the internet, so what do I know? Okay, so once I finish up with the kitchen, I make my way to the dining area. And I have to say, I think the dining room turned out pretty cute. I will say for that one corner between the bathroom and the office, I had no idea what to put there, but a little statue did help make it feel less empty and more in theme with what ChatGPT gave me. You know, considering this is supposed to be an artisan retreat, you know? After I was done with the dining room, I made my way over to the living room. Now, I went pretty basic with the living room. I just threw in your essentials like your couches, a TV, and a bookshelf, with a bit of art as well. I'm gonna be completely honest, I didn't have that clear of an image of what kind of clutter I was gonna add to make it feel more lived in, so I just added a notebook, some tissues, plants, stuff like that. I feel like I could have had more options if I had more expansions, but here, we work with what we are given. And what we are given isn't that much, but it'll do. I also did panic a bit when thinking about the other half of the room. I had no idea how I was going to decorate it. So in the end, I just decided to shrink it. And suddenly everything looks so much better, and way less empty. After throwing in some more details around the place, I moved on to the office. An office wasn't entirely necessary, but it helped fill the space and it's also very useful to have for every sim. It's nothing special, but it's a good little work environment where your Sims can work without any distractions and stay focused. While I'm making the office, I should mention that I made a couple mistakes in this recording. I forgot to remove the columns on the corners of the build and to make the TV stand black. It will be fixed in the final result, but it's fixed off screen. So sorry about that. I actually think I did a good job with the decor of the office. It looks like a room that someone actually works in. Anyway, after I wrap up the office, I moved on to the bathroom. For the bathrooms, both of them, I honestly didn't pay much attention to them. Don't get me wrong, I still tried, but I honestly have no idea how to do bathrooms properly. Though I did definitely do a much better job of the second floor bathroom than the first floor bathroom. At least in my opinion. Though it may only be because the second floor bathroom was smaller and also needed to include a shower, which gave me a bit more freedom in terms of decorating it. So not much more to talk about there, so moving on to the bedrooms. I could have definitely been a bit more creative whenever it comes to the bedrooms, but I still think they turned out good. Like, I gave them both the same theme, but I did try to add some differences, like how the master bedroom is neat and has clothes all nicely folded on the dresser, whereas the other bedroom is a little more messy with their clothes on the floor. It's the little things. But I definitely could have gone much further with them, and I probably should have. But there's nothing I can do about it now, so it's best not to dwell on it. Look, making bedrooms is actually pretty hard whenever you don't have any Sims planned for the house. It makes it much harder to visualize what it will look like, since you don't have a personality to go off of. Anyway, after the bedrooms and adding some decor to the hallway, we move on to the main part of the build. I actually really like how this turned out, especially with the way it looks over the living room. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate EA adding in a proper telescope instead of a giant stupid one? It's been a while since I played, so I have no idea when this was added, but I really appreciate it. Anyway, back on track, the center was supposed to have mannequins, but afterwards I decided it would be best to put sculptures on pedestals instead, since it has a more arts and crafts vibe instead of a fashion studio vibe. You know what I mean? Also, those boxes from Outdoor Retreat can pass off as art supplies easily, so everything just came together here. I also like how I added in that model of Brindleton Bay from Cats and Dogs, and the art pieces on the floor. It really makes it look like someone has gotten plenty done here. Anyways, for the rest of the vegetation outside, I decided to go with the reliable small flower leaf patched thing, whatever it's called that everyone uses, and surround that around the front of the building. I did also use those patches of tall grass and combine it with a flower variation to make it look like thick grass with some flowers poking through. I don't know if my explanation explained it very well, but you'll see, you have eyes. And of course, you have to have some rocks in there as well. And finally, for the backyard, I decided to include a picnic table in the garden area, a small seating area on the patio, and a grill. I think the backyard actually turned out pretty cute. I actually like it quite a bit. It looks like a real garden that you could relax in, especially with little details like that bird bath. Well, now that the build is wrapping up, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next video. Comment down below what you thought about this build and what I could do next, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the showcase.